What's up? It's your boy Carcino here, and welcome back, Patreons. This is part 4 of 6, the Chicago Bulls fake dynasty, and here we go again. Now, this one has a lot of information because there's a 2-year gap that have taken place since the last time we spoke. Not the last time we spoke, but since we spoke about the situation. Was at part 3. We left off, Michael basically retired. So the 2 years is basically turmoil. And when you come back, there's a lot of difference on the team. An entirely different organization as far as what's going on internally with the players. It's a whole different situation. Now, going into this original motion of dealing with the heartache, the pain of Michael going away that season, the Bulls had a successful 1994. They went further than anybody ever thought. But the problem is, Michael retired so close to the season, money was already spent. So once Michael retired, everybody started betting the house against Vegas because of the odds. So everyone was, of course, the Bulls are not going to go anywhere without Michael Jordan. They're done. So everybody was betting against the Bulls. So the numbers started to plummet. So anybody who took the Bulls early to be successful, their bets were secured. Because the Bulls ended up surprising people and going far into the playoffs that season and making it to the second round. My buddies still believe they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. I keep telling them they didn't. And he don't believe me. And then he ended up losing money. So that's what liquor does to you. Now, once this is done, this off season is when the switch happened. After 94 and everybody's on the rise, Scotty's the new king, right? Reality came crashing down in 1995. And when reality came crashing down, it hit like a sledgehammer. Scottie Pippen and the rest of the teams, they realized they made a huge mistake. And one of the biggest mistakes that they made was assuming that the Chicago Bulls organization was just going to be generous and start handing out money like they were gift coupons. He was looking to renegotiate his contract, and the Bulls were not even remotely thinking about doing something they did not have to do. The inflation has happened in the league where everyone's salary is starting to change and they're getting massive contracts. Rookies coming through the door. You've seen Shaquille O'Neal come in and get big money. You're seeing all of these players. Grant Hill had just came in and was basically given the keys to the NBA. You know, he was going to be the new face of the league. And they wanted to change the Detroit Pistons. They changed the logo. They were trying to erase basically their history and just start it all anew with Grant Hill. So with this happening and Michael was away, there was a lot of things in development. Michael helped get BJ into the All-Star game that year in 94. Michael's power had grown throughout the league. He had control. The league struggled with the NBA Finals now that Michael was gone. The Knicks ended up playing the Houston Rockets, and the game was so uninteresting to the people because the ratings were affected by the O.J. Simpson dilemma. The white Bronco chase was shown in the middle of the game. So they end up cutting and showing the white Bronco chase in the middle of the basketball game of an NBA Finals. NBC was running the Bronco chase because it was taking everyone's attention away from the finals. That's how much struggling the NBA was doing during the finals. Then you start looking at another scenario you had that was rearing its head. You had that situation, then you had the unpleasantry Horace was having on the entire team. Horace Grant has always been a problem for the Chicago Bulls, meaning that he always felt he was the uptight guy on the team. He was always opinionated. Michael controlled everything. So Michael really didn't deal with Horace. Like him, Michael and Horace did not hang out. You know, Horace wasn't gonna go work out with him. He wasn't that guy. Horace was gonna do his own thing. He's temperamental. You know, he got mad at Michael one time and jumped up at him and all that. You know, Horace is really uptight. Take everything seriously. So when you see him laugh and joke every now and then, it was always a good thing for the Bulls. But things are starting to implode because his contract was coming up and he felt like, all right, I'm an all-star now. It's time for me to get my dues. So in 94, they tried to, secure him to go to another team and all of these different things. So when the 94 season ended, he knew that was the last time he was going to be in a Bulls uniform. He was going to be available. The Orlando Magic wanted him. Shaq wanted to play with him. And that was that. I mean, that really was that. Now, Horace going to the Orlando Magic. They have Penny Hardaway. They're coming into their own. Michael is coming in there, and he was going to come back when Boston Celtics wanted to bring Michael Jordan and talk to him. But they have to get permission from the Chicago Bulls. Even though Michael was officially retired, he still was under contract with the Chicago Bulls. So that meant they had to get permission from the Bulls so that they could speak to him. The Boston Celtics was going to give him a massive contract. They knew what Michael wanted, and they knew that they were willing to pay whatever Michael Jordan wanted to make him a Boston Celtic. And he said, if I'm just allowed to talk to Michael Jordan, I'm quite sure he'll be a Boston Celtic by the end of our conversation. He'll be a Celtic. The Bulls would not give Boston permission. But that was David Falk sending a message to the Chicago Bulls that Michael is not coming back under that contract. The contract that y'all had with Michael, that's not going to exist anymore. See, Michael's terms was still, it wasn't like Michael was at the end of his deal. Michael still had years on his contract. But Michael had them by the balls. Mike came back for those 15 games for a reason. Now, before Mike came back, he had already made up his mind he was done with baseball. He was at the with the Birmingham Barons or whatever, and it had became a rendition where he was just becoming he was never gonna go to the majors. You know, they stuck him into the exhibition game with the Cubs and Sox. You know, he got 2 hits in the game, and for somebody who had been away from baseball that long to do what he did was pretty impressive. But he worked at it day and night. He took it seriously. He didn't take it as a joke. But that guy wanted a break from playing basketball. But he started to see the finals. And he started to hear about the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets had just won the NBA championship. And would you have known the Chicago Bulls have played them throughout their championship three-peat that they just did when Michael played? They played them 6 times and lost 5 games to the Rockets. They only won 1 game against them. The Houston Rockets had them at every position except for guard. And Mad Max was going neck and neck with Jordan. But at the end of the day, they could not stop Hakeem Olajuwon. They couldn't stop the forwards. They would find a way to beat the Bulls every single time they played. And now they were even better. So in the 95 season, people are talking about how great Olajuwon is, and throughout the season they were the champs, and you know how great it was that the run was there, he able to get it. But now it's over. That's how people look at it. Their run is over. So Michael's intrigued, and he saw the Bulls implode going up against San Antonio, where it looks like Dennis Rodman is going to win a championship with David Robinson. David Robinson's the most valuable player. It looks like it's going to be Orlando and the Spurs meeting each other in the finals. Shaq versus David Robinson. This is going to be, they went at it for the scoring title. Now they're going to go at it for the NBA Finals. That's what it was supposed to be, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it was supposed to be. That didn't happen. Michael Jordan started coming by to watch the games. Watch the Bulls. He came to the Bulls practices. The Spurs, he watched the Spurs destroy Scottie Pippen and the Chicago Bulls. Scottie wants to get traded now because the Bulls refused to negotiate his deal. They said, well, we'll talk after the season. And he's like, it's just going to be more bullshit. So he realizes that they're jerking him around and nothing's happening. So he's getting more and more frustrated by the moment. Now, John Paxson's gone. B.J. Armstrong's there. Bill Cartwright is gone. He played 1 year, I think, with the Supersonics. So he's done. Ron Harper joins the team. Scott Williams, he left. So he went and joined the 76ers. Whole new team. And Jason Caffey got drafted. Now, As this season continued, it was a massive problem. It was a massive, massive problem. And the reason I say that is because you're dealing with a situation that had so many moving parts. Michael Jordan came back and he played out the rest of his remaining contract that he had on file. He said, well, let's look at it this way. Let's play out the contract that we got, and then we'll go and negotiate from 96, 97, and 98. And that's when the massive money came into play. So that year, he got his like $4 million deal to come and play for those 15 games plus the playoffs. But Scotty, his contract, he was paid his big money early out of the contract. Now his contract is lower. He's making about 2.5 million or 2.2 actually. And Ron Harper, BJ is making more. BJ was getting 2.8 million, and this was a problem for the Bulls in 95. So to continue on this pace would be a step going backwards. So they decided to make some transactions. So when he called BJ, Michael was training at a facility downtown in Chicago, working out with his personal trainer. But he came by and did some, telling BJ to come pick him up. So he was riding with BJ, rode up to practice with BJ. And, BJ was like, yeah, you can ride with me. Because now he's coming to practice with BJ and hanging out with BJ. Everybody's like, Michael was hanging out in practice. He's like, oh, I'm just hanging out. He was already made his mind up he was coming back. When he retired from baseball, wrote them a letter blaming it the strike and everything else. That was just the excuse for him to cut out. This is what Michael wanted. The real reason he came back was he wanted a shot at Hakeem Olajuwon in the NBA Finals. And he thought, man, I don't know if we'll get him, but he wanted that. Plus, he didn't have to go through the grind of the regular season, which had bored him. He was bored of the regular season, and that's what was draining. The playoffs is what he likes, but the regular season was wearing him down. So he comes back into the game. There's no Horace, and they got Corey Blunt in this place. So they thought, we're fine. Michael Jordan, first time ever meeting Tony Kukoc. Scotty was on his way out. And the Scotty trade was already basically done. Michael got there and said, I know y'all talking about trading Scotty. I'm not going to play without Scottie Pippen. Whatever y'all got to do to work it out, work it out. But Scotty got to stay. Scotty and BJ. So they made an agreement. They made an agreement. Then something unique was in development. Here it is again. Another expansion to weaken the league even more, bringing in two more teams. They just adjusted to having four teams in the league, just in 88 and 89. Now here it is, 1995. You're coming with the Vancouver Grizzlies and the Toronto Raptors. Here come Canada. Isaiah Thomas is president of basketball operations in Toronto, and he basically helped the Chicago Bulls organization. The Bulls wanted to free up some money at the end of that season. Michael Jordan wasn't ready to compete and play. His body wasn't ready for the NBA grind, and definitely not a playoff series. Charles Barkley told him, he said, I don't think you're ready for this. I don't think you're ready for the grind of what an NBA season is going to do to you. Not NBA playoffs. These guys have been playing all season. I know you, Michael Jordan, you just played 15 games, but, to go through 3 series in the East with these guys who know each other, you don't really know these guys. It's not the same Bulls team you was with. There's no Cartwright, no Paxson, no Horace Grant. It's a whole different team. And you ain't going to know them in 15 games. When the playoffs hit, it's going to be a whole different world. You're going to be ready to go, but are they going to be ready to go? Mike was, oh man, Charles, we got it. We ain't going to choke like y'all did. And it was all right. So, Mike, once again, went ahead and went to the series against Charlotte. He wasn't himself, but they were able to get the victory, win 3-1. Had help from the refs, and they had to play the Orlando Magic in the second round. And from the gate, the Bulls came out, and they had their number. They really had Orlando's number. Orlando was young, so they didn't quite figure out their place. They were winning on just athleticism and youth, but when the trenches come, who was going to step up? And the big key to the whole series is when the Bulls had the game and the steal by Neil Anderson poking the ball from Jordan from behind, and Penny gets the ball, throws it to Horace Grant for the dunk, and they steal the game from the Bulls. Something the Bulls have done countless times. And Jordan made a mistake, and then he made another one. Tried to give the ball to Scottie Pippen in the clutch and passed the ball out of bounds. And Pippen was shocked. He's like, I thought he was going to shoot it. This is Jordan. Passing me the ball? That don't happen. So Jordan made 2 big mistakes. And everybody was clowning him. And it was looking bad for him. And they joked and said, well, 45 isn't like 23. I guess 45 ain't like 23. So he went and got the 23 jersey. The Chicago Bulls had to pay $25,000 every time Michael Jordan wore 23. Because now you can't do that. That's illegal. Once you commit to a number, you got to wear that number, or you got to file for it in advance, because they make jerseys and they make money off that. The NBA is printing up jerseys with Michael Jordan 45. So now you're going to switch in the playoffs when people are running out buying 45 Michael Jordan jerseys, and then you're just gonna switch to a new number, you can't do that. So they had to pay $25,000 every time Jordan won 23, every game. The Bulls organization had to pay it. So they don't like paying anything. Even that fine they were pissed off about. It was gonna tell Michael that he was gonna pay it. And they was like, Michael was like, they were like, are you sure you gonna tell Michael Jordan he gotta pay a $25,000 fine? You better cut the check. You better cut that check. Now, the whole thing is, everybody started to notice the changes within the attitude of the team. Corey Blunt was nervous. He didn't know what to do in this situation. And Horace Grant heard Phil Jackson try to get in his head by saying, like, we're just going to let Horace Grant beat us. Like, that's the whole thing. We'll shut down Shaq and Penny, and yeah, we just let Horace try to beat us. That's the game. You know, we'll just leave it up to Horace. Like, Horace is nothing. It pissed Horace off. Horace was so pissed, he hit almost every shot he took. Every big shot, Horace was nailing. Shaq then would go to Horace. Horace was pulling up from that little 15-foot jump shot, 16 feet. He was nailing them shots, knocking them down. He was pissed at Phil. But Phil was trying to get in his head because he knows how tight Horace Grant is. So he knew if he said something like that, it would get Horace off balance to get out of the game. But he had no idea that Horace would destroy them like that. And then Michael played bad. It wasn't like he played bad, he just couldn't be Jordan. He was human. He didn't have his legs anymore. Couldn't get high. Everybody's blocking his shots. What used to be dunks is now layups. And he's like subpar. And they was dominant over him. Like he was not ready to play. Not with these guys. And that's what it was down the stretch. He couldn't turn it on and be Michael Jordan when it was time. And so the Orlando Magic celebrated, and in came the changes. The Toronto Raptors, the Bulls left B.J. Armstrong unprotected in free agency immediately. And it was because of the expansion draft. Now, Jordan was fault for B.J. to be on the team, but they had a bigger opportunity on the table. B.J. was complaining about more playing time. He had just gotten it when Paxson retired. So they kept him. He was going to be the new guy, him and Keith Myers or whatever, Pete Myers. So they said, listen, here's what we're going to do. Now that Mike's back, we're going to take this thing to the new plateau. Because it was funny, because Pete Myers had, said, oh, I'm here now. Don't worry, Pete Myers, I got this. They were like, no, you don't. It's Mike's team now. Step back. Notice, behind every Chicago Bulls victory, there is a pattern that you see. An expansion draft. So the expansion draft comes in and BJ's gone, which frees up the money so they can keep They wanted to keep the players that they needed to keep. They wanted to keep Ron Harper, so they were able to do that, keep Ron on the team. And Jordan liked Ron Harper being on the team more than BJ because he had length and he could play defense. And that's what he liked better from Ron. They wanted to keep Ron and turned and stabbed BJ Armstrong in the back. And BJ was the one that was left unprotected. It might have been Luke Longley though. I don't think it was Ron they protected, but I think it was between BJ and Ron Harper, which one was going to go. Ron made 2.4, BJ made 2.8 million. So they cleared the books on 2.8 million and gave BJ Armstrong to the Toronto Raptors. Now, everyone thinks that, oh, Isaiah's out to get Michael, and that's why he wanted to take BJ from him. BJ Armstrong's favorite player was Isaiah Thomas. BJ is from Detroit. He was there for the championship Pistons era. He remembers all of this. But his career was basically set back because he had to sit under Paxson all those years. And when it was finally his time to shine, and he was out there shining, it was taken away. And he had to take a step back. Ron Harper was getting his minutes. BJ's flaw is he wasn't aggressively taking the ball to the hole. He wasn't good at driving the ball. And defensively, he wasn't a great defensive player. He was better than what he used to be, but still not where they wanted him to be as a player. Then, to top everything off, you're looking at a scenario that doesn't make any sense, but it's how all of this came to the forefront. You know, Corey Blunt and Scotty are hanging out. They are messing around with this woman. Scotty was in a relationship now. But he goes all the way out to, I think, either Buffalo Grove or Schaumburg. One of them. Where Corey Blunt lived. I know because I only know this because I know the neighbor. The walls over there are very thin. Super thin walls. So when you got the super thin wall situation going on over there, you have a bigger problem on the hands. The bigger problem is the scenarios are always going to continuously change, and you have to be ready for it. Now, what am I talking about here? Tony Kukoc was the second highest paid on the team, almost neck to neck with Jordan. Jordan came in and said, there's no way I'm going to continue to play with this contract. You know, the way it is, it just didn't make sense. So when Scotty was, they were negotiating this, Scotty and Dickie Simpkins are getting high, getting drunk, partying with girls that's like coming over, and all these, the white lady that stayed next door, she's in, her friends, they all partying over there to the late nights, till the cops had to get called. because it was too loud and they're playing music. And Scotty's on the answer machine telling Dickie, yo, call them girls. Get them back. The girls from other night, yeah, bring them back. So all of this is on the tapes, and she could hear his voice message machine. She could hear the coaches telling him what time to be at practice. She could hear everything from next door. So one of her girlfriends was over there, and then an incident happened with Corey Blunt and Scottie Pippen in Corey Blunt's apartment. And this is the reason Corey Blunt was basically out of there. That and the fact that he couldn't guard Horace Grant. So they went out to get a guard on the roster that couldn't be denied, couldn't be messed with, couldn't do a thing to stop. So they're at Jerry Krause's house. I mean, was it Krause or Reinsdorf? I believe probably Reinsdorf. Or probably Fieldhouse. And Dennis Rodman is invited to come over there. Dennis is over there because he's smoking weed with Phil Jackson. And he was like, man, I didn't know you get down like this. See, they don't ever tell you stuff like this. So Dennis was fried out of his mind. But he was happy he found a coach that could chill out and smoke with him. Now, at this time, Phil is going through shit with his wife. Nobody's talking about it. But all of this drama is going on. So while everyone keeps talking about the 96 Bulls, the 96 Bulls, Michael went into training for Space Jam. Nathan Bellamy. He's the basketball coordinator for Space Jam. So they put the structure in there, and they had, what's his name, Joe Pleita. It had everything in it. Now, Nathan Bellamy and Bill Bellamy are related. This is how Bill was able to really know Michael and all these guys, because he could play. Like, Bill Bellamy could play ball. Him and Flex, they could damn near play in the league. Flex is the better basketball player, but damn, they could play. So they had an inflatable dome. There was a full-length basketball court with an entertainment center with a big screen TV, a sound system. It had locker rooms. It had showers. It had weight machines just for Michael. It had a card table. They put it in there, and it was about $10,000 a week to air condition the place. You needed special passes to get in, and they had to put that in the contract so that they can go and film this Space Jam movie. Michael was spending the summer working out because it was the most embarrassed he had ever been. Ahmad Rashad was stunned. He was like, it was the most embarrassed or disappointed I've ever seen him in life. And it drove him insane. So after this whole meeting with Dennis Rodman, and Rodman said he would come to the Bulls. The Bulls go out and acquire Michael Jordan to the Chicago Bulls. I mean, not Michael Jordan, but Dennis Rodman. Jordan agrees to come back to the Bulls on he wanted $50 million a year, but due to tax reasons, it agreed on like $32 million a year for 3 years. Of course, y'all all know what happened at that time when they said no man deserved that kind of money. So, with that said, you start seeing the dealings of the team. They got Dennis Rodman when they traded Will Perdue to the Spurs for Dennis. But when the head coach and an owners or Jerry Krause or whoever was there was sitting with a player who's actively on another team saying, do you want to come here? And then they had to trade to get him. The first thing they did was we got to get Dennis Rodman. So about a month before the season starts, they get the trade for Dennis. Dennis don't want to come there without his buddy, Jack Haley. So Jack is a former Chicago Bull. They re-signed Jack Haley back on the team to keep Dennis under control and go hang out with Dennis. That was Jack's job. Jack Haley was brought into the office and they said, look, we don't need you to play. We don't need you to collect jerseys. We don't want you to do anything but keep Dennis happy and keep him out of trouble. The same thing you did in San Antonio, we want you to do the same role here with the Chicago Bulls. Your job is to keep Dennis Rodman out of trouble. That is what you're paid to do. That is your job. So Randy Brown is signed. Pete Myers goes to the Hornets. B.J. Armstrong is furious at Phil Jackson. He's blaming Phil for him not being there instead of Michael Jordan. And Michael's making like he fought for him, but it was really Jordan that didn't want B.J. back no more. It was okay with B.J. being gone. Even though they were really close, Mike wanted to win. And now they got a chance to get Rodman, freed up a lot of money. And the league approved them to be able to go out and pick up James Buda Edwards as a free agent, John Sally on some 10-day contracts. That was later on in the season. Then they ended up picking John up full time and bringing him on board. And the team was off to the races. Now, Mike was a whole different Mike when he came back in 96. Oh, well, thank you. But once again, this made teams weaker. The Indiana Pacers came into their own. For the first time in their league history, like they're ready. They won 50-some games. This is the team to beat. They're a force in the East. They was just in the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time ever, and they finally beat the Knicks and got past them. And now they're an elite team, a team people got to respect. And they run into a buzzsaw. They ran into nobody other than the Chicago Bulls. That was going to be their new kryptonite. And they ran into Orlando Magic first. The Magic won 60 games. Pacers won 52 games, and the Bulls won 72. So everyone's thinking this is going to be something else. The Seattle Supersonics had won 64 games. The Spurs had won 59 without Dennis Rodman. So they still were a great team. But now, without Dennis, they weren't going to be close to getting over the top. Wherever Dennis Rodman goes, he performs. But they still got a long way to go. Now, Phil Jackson, the peyote smoker that he was going through a nasty divorce. Now, this was his second wife. The first wife he had divorced earlier because of his, everything was just crazy. Like in the 60s, he was in his hippies days. He was on LSD when he got married the first time. Now, he was saying that it was his career that was too important to him. And his day-and-day habits and stuff. He became a prisoner of his past and all that stuff. And he can carry his desire of a team to be the best. And, he can only spend like 4 hours a day and all this stuff. So even though he has all these his grandchildren around, he's got like 8 grandchildren now. And he tries to have them around as much as possible. And he had one with his first wife, but the other kids, Phil's gonna miss a lot of things. And this was a weight on him. Because Phil was one of those people that once you're in it with Phil, you're stuck. Phil is becoming more temperamental, more boastful. He's telling people what he wants to do, what he don't want to do. Holding Jerry Krause at ransom, basically saying, like, if you ain't doing this, then I got power. Michael ain't going to do this. But he wouldn't fight for Scottie. He wouldn't fight for Scottie Pippen. Him and Scottie Pippen have been on a bad turn for a long time. And with Michael back, he could deal with Scottie. But without Michael, he did not want to deal with Scottie Pippen. He wanted the offense. He felt Pippen was selfish, had more of a pouting child, an attitude of a pouting child rather than a professional basketball player and thinking with a winning mentality. Phil told him that he's not Michael before, and it pissed him off. Said, no, you're not Michael. I don't have to worry about Michael's going to make the right decision. So Scottie was actually happy they lost in 95. And it was all on Michael and wasn't on him. Also, Michael could know what it feels like. This is what he told a former player. Like, now he knows what it feels like when he's finally getting the blame for some of the stuff that went on. And then, I had to take the blame or you had to take the blame. Now he knows what a little bit of what that feels like. To be honest, Mike didn't give a shit about that. You know what Mike gave a shit about? Winning. That's it. So John Sally gets there in March, right? Like right before the All-Star break, trade deadline, and all that. So the team's already kind of rolling. So Phil wants to get everybody in shape, and he's gonna hold a scrimmage for these guys, but he don't want Dennis, Scotty, Michael, none of them there. Like, no, all you guys go. Y'all go. So he's ready to scrimmage the guys, right? And get them, up to par, get John Sally into shape. Because John Sally was out the league. I mean, nobody was going to pick John up anymore. They didn't see too much value in John anymore. John was a party guy at the time. He was wasting all his money. So this was the fact that they signed him was based on his relationship with Jordan, basically. Him and Mike was close as a friends. And like respectfully, even when his Piston playing days. So John used to give Jordan tickets when he needed extras. So anyway, they go ahead. The game's going the way it's supposed to go. The scrimmage, and then next thing you know, Jordan comes back in, not even dressed in uniform. He's in regular clothes. Like, I knew it. I knew this what you was doing. I knew you was going to run a scrimmage. No, I'm coming. He's Michael. No, Phil, no. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. So Michael's out there. No. We finna play. Michael's got on some tan, like, shirt. And he's ready to go. He's playing in not gym shoes. He's in some regular, like, sandal-like type shoes. Playing ball with these guys. And he won all the Detroit Pistons. It was Jack Haley, who wasn't a Piston, but he gave Ron Harper, Jack Haley, Buddha Edwards, and Sally on one team. And he wanted to go against them. And when I tell you Michael went off in that scrimmage, I wasn't there, but the rumors is it, man, he went off. And they got to see firsthand. Like, see, yeah, this is a new day. And Buddha and them was looking like, does he know if this was real, we would have put him in the third row? I would have put him in the third row by now if this was real. And he was doing all. I wouldn't have let you dunk the ball. And then he's like, you have been out of the game. He was like, I'm a role player. At this point in my career, this is my last ride. So at this point, I'm about done and out of juice. So he was like, this is about all I'm going to give you is a reduced role. But I'm a role player and I know what's best for our team. If I throw you into the drinks and get you out of here, it's over for the other team. So as the whole season is going down, Michael Jordan lifts his head up and he's looking at his teammates. And it was Tony Kukoc on his team. And he started cursing Tony out. They're winning the scrimmage by like 1 million over the Piston team that he put together. And Tony Kukoc missed one pass. That's all it took. And he was going off on Tony. One pass. And then Tony is definitely shooting better than, everybody expected. And Phil wanted to prove a point. So they had just lost a game to the Toronto Raptors. The Toronto Raptors. It was embarrassing. They had just been in the league a year and already was actually winning games. They won 21 games. They won more games than the 76ers that year. and they just got in the league. They were becoming the sister city to Chicago. So they set up this whole thing with the mayor of Chicago, the Bulls organization, Reinsdorf, Isaiah Thomas, and they gave a special key to make Toronto the sister city to Chicago. It was trying to make that bridge and that connection because Isaiah's from Chicago, so they're his connections and powers. So they had a big presentation, and before the game, they lose this game. Jordan is pissed. Michael Jordan is beyond pissed that they lost this game. He can't believe, and it felt like losing back to the Detroit Pistons. That's how he took it. He did not want to lose to them. Couldn't do it. So, the defending champions were the Houston Rockets. They shocked the world and beat the Orlando Magic. And Elijah Wan shocked the world and beat the MVP and David Robinson. Jordan is thinking, okay, we're going to be playing now. So he saved it up and went after the Rockets. That means blew them out the water. With Dennis Rodman on the team, it was no chance. The rebounding, the just prowess of just attack. They were all over the Houston Rockets. But the Rockets were done. They were about just done at this time. Well, they lost by 1 point to the Raptors, and I think that was in March. Jordan goes off, breaks something in half in the locker room. They get back home, and they got to get ready for the next game. And they was like, who we playing next? Atlanta? Or we'll beat Atlanta. I don't give a it about Atlanta right now. I want to talk to the whole team. We're practicing tomorrow at this. I don't care. We trying to make history. Mike wanted to beat the 70-game streak. He wanted to. Once he saw that was in reach, he can't have anything go left. He didn't care the fact they lost the game to the Knicks. That didn't matter. It felt like losing Isaiah Thomas all over again. So they go ahead and get into this whole engagement of we're going to go ahead and try to make a deal to bring in, some other players. And Tony Kukoc just wasn't getting it done. And he was like, I'm going to talk to Jerry about, we're going to have to get rid of you. Yeah, we can get Oak in here. I can get Oakley in here. Oakley going to play D. Oak got bad knees and can move and get in position better than you can. This don't make no sense. So Tony Kukoc and Michael get into it, and he just says, okay, Michael. Okay, enough. Okay, you tell me. Stop. And Michael was like, I ain't going to stop because they wouldn't stop. I'm going to stay on you till you get it right. Now, everyone thought, and Scotty loved it. Scotty was on the sidelines. He was loving it, but he's unhappy. He still wants out of there. He's not happy about this contract, but he thinks this is boosting up his value. So his agent is telling him, oh no, this is boosting you up. So you're gonna get the money in the end because your value is gonna be through the roof. But Scotty's got injuries, he's banged up a little bit, and he's been playing through the injuries. Now, as they keep going on this road, things start to go real left when Michael Jordan and Tony just blow up at him, right? In this practice. Tony Kukoc gets face to face with Michael after telling him to stop over and over. Phil runs out there. And Phil, can you imagine Phil running? Phil wobbling out there. Enough. So they didn't talk themselves into it to Michael and Tony is shooting to see who's, like, I guess, the better shooter, whatever. Now, both of them are shooting lights out with the basketball. And Tony Kukoc, who was normally shooting the last second shots at the game, it came down to shit. Tony had taken that shot. So in Toronto, and all of this stuff came into a shooting contest between Michael Jordan and Tony Kukoc. They were shooting a basketball, going back and forth, shooting. Shoot it, bitch! Shoot it, bitch! He's shooting. So Jordan's losing. Michael Jordan is losing to Tony Kukoc in a shooting contest. They're out there shooting, going back and forth, and Tony is winning now. Tony's hitting nothing but net. So then Michael started changing the rules. Now you got to shoot from all different spots. So Tony's talking like, okay, it don't matter. And Tony go to another spot. Just hitting nothing but net. And Michael's getting his shot to go. But then some of them are coming off. Now Michael don't want to be embarrassed. Michael changed the rules again. And now Michael want to guard. Yeah, but see, this in the game, you ain't going to be open like that. Now if somebody on you, now I hit that shit. Now I hit that shit. Now I hit that shit. So now he wants to change the rules yet again. So for the second time, he changes the rules. Tony was hitting shots off the glass on Michael. And then Phil saw Michael getting mad. Michael went at Tony. He scored on a layup. He attacked him again with a layup. And he said, I thought we were supposed to be doing jump shots. Now we're playing a one-on-one. So Phil and then Tony's like, I'm not doing this, Phil. I'm done. He keep changing the rules. Now he's driving, doing shots because he's not shooting the ball. I'm the better shooter. So, man, it was something else. Jack Haley went over there and grabbed Tony's hand and raised it like he was the champion. And Michael Jordan looked at Jack Haley and wanted to beat the living. He's like, you effing instigator. He went right over there. You trying to divide this team. Mike was such a baby. It was unbelievable how he was acting out there on the floor. So as the rest of the season went, they got past this. Dennis Rodman had aggravated a hamstring pull. And when he aggravated a hamstring, he really had to sit out. Now, they never really talked about it. He aggravated a hamstring, and Dennis was going to be out. And Michael was ticked because he was, damn. You know, like, we done lost Dennis. Dennis is down. Dennis came and played in that game and had about 16 rebounds on half a leg. He was on one leg and a half. He couldn't jump like that. He said, I'm going to give you what I got. And they went out and won that game. Then they played the Pistons, and Grant Hill was giving them the business. And they went to overtime, and he got that victory when it looked like the Pistons had the game. And it was incredible. You know, Dennis really wanted to stick it to Detroit. He felt like he had to stick it to the organization for what they did to him. He felt like that should have been his going home safe place, and it wasn't. And, you know, they were kind of booing Dennis. Some of the people, like he abandoned them, and he had to show them. Now, once again, the Bulls go and win 72 games after they improve the league by adding 2 more teams. And this was the last time we've had an expansion. Look how long it's been. But now they're talking about doing another expansion. Because expansions weakens teams. They take players and key players from teams and weaken them. You could lose one person in your unit and it'll throw your whole unit off. So now as they get to the finals, and they go through the regular season, they break the new record, and they go into the playoffs. The Miami Heat series was just a shellacking because the Heat wasn't even close. Like, they were not even compatible. Then the Knicks was just like an anomaly. They played the Knicks. It's real. They could have 4-0 the New York. I think they went to overtime one time and lost one game to the Knicks. The Knicks weren't the same anymore. Pat was old now. It was his time had come. His knees was giving in on him. Still had a little bite in him, but no, he was done. Now, the Orlando Magic. This is what everybody was waiting on. The rematch. This is when we were going to see. So going into this actual game, the Orlando Magic has had problems on the road all season. Their fights, dismemberment, this inner jealousy between Penny Hardaway and Shaq. That whole inner fighting turmoil turned the whole league upside down. And because they did that, and it turned the whole league upside down, when you had Shaq and Penny on the team at the same time. These two are infighting as Penny becoming more popular than Shaq, with little Penny commercials and everything else, and everybody's talking about Penny, is starting to implode on the show on the court. Now in game 1, as soon as the series started, Horace Grant plays about a quarter, and he's being guarded so well that he's not even getting shots up. He takes one shot, and he gets hurt. Horace Grant goes down and agonizing pain. So now that, you know, they get routed by like maybe 30 points in that game. And that's it. Horace Grant is out for the entire series. Like, he's done. So now you got John Konak, or John Konak, rather, starting in the game. And it was just, they had no bench, really, to compete with the Bulls. The Bulls was an experienced team where they had Scotty, Rodman, Jordan, Luke Longley, and Ron Harper. That's your starting five. Your bench got Tony Kukoc, Steve Kerr, and you got Sally on there. You got Brown. You had all these guys ready to go. Even Bill Winnington is on there. He could score a bucket or two. But that's your bench. That's your reserves. And we all know about the infamous practice where he punched Steve Kerr in '96. It's the same year. I just didn't mention it because we've all heard it in The Last Dance. But it's during the same time when he was going at it with Tony Kukoc. And oh yeah, Seattle Supersonics. When they played Seattle, it was such a mismatch because this was it. This was the series here. And they let the Bulls play very aggressive against Orlando, to where Orlando, without Horace, felt mentally they were out of it. But they were going to go out without a fight. They were going to at least win a game. They couldn't even get in the fourth game. Shaq had already basically quit on the team. Left Penny on the island. And even though Penny and Shaq had a good game, you got Dennis Scott, Anthony Bowie, and John Cognac playing. It was terrible at this point. It was all over. The Bulls was better than them that year. Horace would have changed the dynamic of a little bit, but nah. They had him. There's nothing they could do. Nick Anderson was done. The whole team was done by then. So the last game, you don't have Nick. I don't think Nick Anderson even played in the last game. Nick Anderson didn't play in game 4, neither did Horace. They both were out. So it was. Oh, Brooks Thomason came in there. Thompson or whatever came out of nowhere and scored like 17 points in game 4. It just didn't matter. It was just all over. It was over. So when they played Seattle, it was more or less of, okay, this is what we got to do. We're going to take their goddamn heart. And they did. They beat the living hell out of Seattle. Dennis Rodman mentally got in their heads and took them all apart. But that's mainly it. But now there's a whole new thing on the horizon. Jordan is going to get hit with a paternity suit in part 5. So we're going to leave it here. Thanks for tuning in. I know it was long. We had to get all the way through it. But wait till the next championship when you finna see what happens in these off season when court papers start showing up for paternity and money for your kid and all this stuff with Michael Jordan. All right, we'll get out of here and check in on part 5.